Hello, everybody. This is the Cincinnati Herald Podcast. I'm your host, John Alexander Reese, digital editor of the Cincinnati Herald. And if you don't know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955, and it's the largest African American newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area. And today, I have my guest, co-host, and media consultant for the Cincinnati Herald, Andria Carter. How are you doing today, Andria?
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm doing good. And I also have circulation director of the Herald, Wade Lacey Sr. How are you doing today, Wade?
Good evening, John. I'm doing well.
Good to hear. So let's head into some of the top news topics of the week. The Cincinnati Public Schools Board of Education Monday evening voted 5-0 to require all staff and faculty working at a district facility to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Those who choose to remain unvaccinated will be required to show a negative COVID-19 test weekly. The mandate will not apply to volunteers. Employees must have their first shot done by October the 1st and a second shot within the appropriate time thereafter. Following that, employees will be required to provide proof of vaccination or improved reason for exception. Political beliefs are not sufficient enough reason to request an accommodation, the policy states, though exceptions will be offered for those with religious or medical constrictions. Andria, what are your thoughts on this news topic?
I think that this is the pending process of the world right now. That I know there are several Republicans up in the air against what Biden mandated last week about the OSHA emergency regulation. And I think the public school system is going along with that. But I think I've heard several interviews from a number of board members who were talking about the protection of the kids. And, they have so many students that are infected right now that they have to protect everyone. They have to protect their employees. They have to protect, everyone who's working with the public school system right now, because certain kids cannot get the shot because they're not old enough. And then those who are old enough, their parents are deciding whether or not they get the shot. So I think it's a good thing in terms of protecting everybody right now. And it is an issue that is being grappled with all school boards across the country. They're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. And everyone is reacting to it differently. But at the end of the day, it's about how do you protect the kids and then protect the parents when the kids go home from a day at school.
Moving on to our next story. California Governor Gavin Newsom survived a recall election. The Associated Press called the race about 45 minutes after the polls closed. Voters were asked two questions at the polls Tuesday: whether Newsom should lose his job and who should replace him if he's recalled. An overwhelming number of Californians said Newsom should not lose his job, making the second question irrelevant. The special election was the result of 1.5 million people signing a recall petition. CNN reports the election cost the state more than $270 million. Andria, your thoughts on this topic?
One, I think it's telling about how the public supported Gavin Newsom. He did what he thought was best for California, especially regarding the pandemic. He was one of the governors who had the strictest mandate to help prevent people from getting COVID as much as possible. He put in a lot of measures in place that saved a lot of lives. And in fact, right now, California is one of the better states to be in right now regarding the pandemic. I think the Republicans who wanted this recall because he goes against everything right now that they're, quote, are following and believing, I think it's unjust. I think it's telling at the end of the day what the reaction is going to be possibly in midterm going in. Those governors who made the decision to help to make the harshest decisions to save lives, I think at the end of the day will win at the ballot box because people recognize leadership. They recognize a boss. And that's what he did. He made the hard choices, fought against the political system, and won the day. And I think at the end of the day, people across the country will do the exact same thing. And I'm glad he won.
Wade, your thoughts on this news story?
Well, my thoughts is concerning the whole process of this recount or this process of trying to get this recall. Disturbing to me that just because you can get 1 million people to sign a petition, that you can have a revote. Think of that if that happened with the presidency. They decided, well, we're going to get everybody to sign a petition because we don't like some of the policies that the president has made over the last 3 months or so, and we're going to try to get a recall. So that's my issue is with the recall itself, the easiness of them going through this process and everything. If you remember back in 2005, that was how Arnold Schwarzenegger got in. They did that, and he ousted the Democratic governor that was in at the time. So my major concern is with the process itself. I think is callous. It's too easy for them to go in and get someone removed that has gone through the whole process and get voted in by the public, and I think it's wrong.
You know, Wade, it's something that it's kind of sad to think that people don't like the outcome or don't like what you did, and the only thing they can think of is just to go ahead and recall you now when he has another year of his term before they're going to have to go through this again next year because he's up for re-election next year. So I think it's telling of the mindset of what's going on with a particular voter. And when I say a particular voter, I'm talking about those people who don't like the truth, and they're kind of like spoiled kids, and they're like, no, this can't happen. And they figure out a way legally to get their way. And they expect the outcome to be this way, when in fact, they never take into account voters are not dumb. I think the one thing, the outcome from Trump is that they made the voter in the United States smarter, more aware of the political process. Some to the extreme, some not to the extreme, but you're looking at a smarter voter who's very much aware of what is going on. And I don't think politicians who've been around for a while thinking this way are not taking that into account when they do something like this. And also, it's a horrible way of using our democracy against the truth.
My thing is that I can't believe it costs that much money to do this recall election. I mean, that money could have been spent in way better ways. And it's just a shame that this had to happen. And like you said, Andria, it's like he only had like one more year. They really couldn't wait that long to put a new candidate up. It's really sad.
It's sad, but also it's sad to see a political party that is so distorted and cannot accept the status quo. I mean, for decades, this is how we did things. And now all of a sudden, because of a certain mindset has been inserted into our democratic process, if you don't get your way, you're going to do things differently. You want your way. You're not respecting the authority of how things have been done before. And I think it's sad. It's sad to see a political party implode and try all these kinds of ways to hang on to power, hang on to their way of thinking, their quote, their way of life, when in fact, they need to take into account more than what they're doing.
Moving on to our next story. City and county leaders on Tuesday announced a plan to cover the cost of replacing the Western Hills Viaduct, a crumbling span that supports the traffic of 55,000 drivers each day. They'll vote to make it official next week. Cincinnati and Hamilton counties spent over a decade attempting to fund a fix for the bridge, which has in recent years begun to crack and shed chunks of concrete from its upper deck. The plan announced Tuesday will draw the largest share of its budget, $205 million of it, from tax revenue created by Issue 7, a voter-passed tax levy in Hamilton County. The replacement bridge will have 4 lanes of traffic in each direction, plus a multi-use path on the south side and a sidewalk. Construction could start as early as 2022 and finish around 2026. Andria, your thoughts on this news story?
I'm glad they came up with something. I think it's kind of sad that they're using the money raised with Issue 7, but sometimes you have to go to the extreme to resolve an issue. I get uneasy driving the Western Hills Viaduct every once in a while. I mean, it's just, if you think about what has happened around the country, older buildings falling down because of various issues, we have to take a better view and be smarter about our aging infrastructure and go do what we need to do to fix it. So I'm glad that they found a way to fix this, because it is a key part of our transportation system in the city, and well, I should say in the county. So I'm happy about it.
Wade, your thoughts on this story?
It's about time. That bridge has had many problems over the years. If you drive by there, you will always see them making some type of small repairs. Some concrete is falling down and they have to go and patch up the work, and then they're patching up again and all that. So it's about time that this has happened. Hopefully they can recoup some of that money through some of the federal funds that should be coming through in the coming years. Infrastructure bill that was passed before. But yeah, this is definitely a situation where lives were being put in danger every single day. Rush hour traffic in the morning, and then when everyone's going home. I don't know how people drive that way every day and not have a little fear of something is going to happen, because even though you don't think of the total bridge collapsing or anything like that, but there are so many other things with chunks of concrete falling and being misplaced and things like that, displaced, that there could be so many other accidents and ways for people to be killed with that bridge the way it was and is as it stands today. So I'm extremely happy that they are going to be able to take care of this, and that'll be a problem that'll be solved for many years to come.
Moving on to our next story. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has fired an agent accused of failing to investigate sex abuse allegations against U.S. Gymnastics Director Larry Nassar. According to NBC News, the firing of Agent Michael Langman comes after the release in July of a Justice Department Inspector General report that criticized him and his boss, Jay Abbott, of their handling of the case. Nassar was sentenced in February 2018 to over 100 years in prison after pleading guilty to 3 counts of criminal sexual conduct. Earlier Wednesday, Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles and Michaela Maroney testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee about the sexual abuse they endured at the hands of Nassar. Andria, your thoughts on this story?
I think it's a shame. It's a failing of us. The system failed the gymnasts. I mean, I listened to part of the testimony today that they gave before Congress, and what they endured at the hands of this man is shocking. I mean, our most decorated Olympic gymnast has suffered at the hands of this. She has emotional issues regarding this. The other women who also testified with her all suffered at the hands of this guy. And the fact that an FBI agent did not think enough to do the investigation, or at least look into it fast enough when informed, is kind of sad. I don't know. Maybe he thought there wasn't enough evidence, or maybe it was just speculation, or how dare you accuse a doctor? I don't know what was going on his mind. But I think it also is indicative of when a woman reports sexual harassment of various degrees, sometimes the act is so subtle, you can't just prove it outright. You have to peel back the layers to get to the truth. And it's kind of hard in this situation. There are enough people to come forward that this guy got caught. But again, the FBI agent was not willing enough to peel back the layers to investigate it fast enough. It's kind of sad. I could say some stereotypical things, but I'm not going to go there. So,
Wade, your thoughts on this story?
Well, I always try to look at the bigger picture as things happen and everything. One, they fired the FBI agent, but they criticized his boss also. Why wasn't he fired? It's more like a whitewash to me, because it's not just this situation or this particular case or incidents with the gymnast and this coach and all that. It's more of a case of the sexual abuse all over. We forget that similar situations happen not just with the women, but with the men also. And I'll just give you an example. Just a few years ago, 20 so years ago, Jerry Sandusky was the assistant football coach with Penn State, serving under Joe Paterno. And if you guys remember, it might start coming back to you now, but he had formed a nonprofit charity organization called Second Mile, which served the underprivileged at-risk youth. And he started that in 1977. And then we found out later that he was abusing all those boys that was in that program. And that went on for like 15 years, okay? Not only did that go on for like 15 years, but a lot of people knew that it was happening. A lot of people in positions of authority knew that that was happening. But in most cases, this is always, especially when there's boys involved, this is always hidden. Nobody wants to talk about it. That's Penn State. Just Ohio State, just 2 years ago, they did a big investigation where their former athletic and student health doctor, he committed suicide in 2005. But the investigation was for the allegations. He had over 400 people come forth and students that was there who said that he either groped them or he messed with them while they was having the medical examinations and stuff, seeking treatment and all. And these were guys that came forth. And over the years, again, when it's guys, it seemed to be hush all the way. Throw it in the background. We don't want to talk about it. But these situations happens all the time. And I think that we make a mistake when we just look at it when it happens to the women, because I think if you put it in that broad scope, then it's something's being said or something's being done. They have to act right away. They've got to find out what's going on and make sure that these people, men, women, girls, boys, whatever, that they are not being violated, and that if they have issues, that they are being addressed. Sugar Ray Leonard, our former Olympic champion, boxing champion, and then world champion, I think, of 5 different weight divisions. He spoke about his situation being sexually abused by an Olympic coach back when he was about 15 years old. So this has been widespread. You can go all the way back and talk about what the Catholic Church goes through with the priest and everything. But again, most of the time, these situations are thrown in the back door, thrown to the side. Nobody wants to talk about it and everything. So we have to look at it in that wide scope and everything, and say, this is what we're going to do, or this is what should be done when any of these allegations come up, that we take care of this right away and we don't let it go, and we figure out what's going on, and if somebody should be prosecuted or whatever the case may be. So for my thing with the women, the gymnasts, if you look just a few years ago, it was another coach, similar situation. But again, people just tend to look away, and they don't want to address it. And a lot of times the people don't want to address it because the people that are in the positions to do something about it have their hand in the cookie jar also. So hopefully they'll look at the broad picture, and they'll put things in place where when things like this happen, they will immediately have some type of investigation or make sure things are not going like they lead them to be.
Well, I mean, basically, we need to change the thinking, or I should say, change the culture of the country, because it's not acceptable when it happens to a woman. It's not acceptable when it happens to a guy. And I agree with you, Roy. I mean, this has gone on for decades, and it's not a comfortable topic to talk about. It's very uncomfortable. It's messy. If you let it fester and fester, it will blow up in your face. And that is what's happened each time. Look at Harvey Weinstein. Look at the guy who was human trafficking with the women, and he committed suicide. I cannot think of his name right now. But, we have extraordinary cases, and even small settled cases. We even have the Catholic Church where this has occurred, and it's occurred around the world. Somewhere we have to take a stand and change the thinking. This is not acceptable behavior. It should not be hush-hush. It should not be covered up. It just needs to be addressed and then go from there. I agree with you, Wade. Something has to be done to change our thinking.
And moving on, 18 months after the global pandemic shut down live theater, Broadway is officially back. Chicago, Hamilton, Wicked, and The Lion King were some of the shows that opened back up on Tuesday, September the 14th. Theaters were open to 100% capacity. However, ticket holders to all of these mega hits must prove they are fully vaccinated with an FDA or WHO authorized vaccine, and masks must be worn at all times except when eating or drinking in designated areas. Andrea, your thoughts on Broadway being back?
I am so happy. I mean, I love Broadway. I love Broadway shows. They are artistic eye to the world. And for it to be shuttered, it truly does something to the soul when you can't think that, this favorite entity is not there. The fact that Broadway shows came back, I mean, I've been watching on YouTube all the rehearsals that got started and had the emotions that everybody had. Just being in rehearsal to say, hey, we're back has been unbelievable. And, watching everyone wear the masks and sing and dance and prepare and practice and all that type of stuff. I think it's wonderful. I think it shows that New York has gone through something so horrific, but is able to come back. And I know there's still some fear with the Delta variant still out there that they may get shut down again. But I think that they're putting on a brave face. And it's a nice signal that the country's moving forward in this fight, in this pandemic. And that I think that if we all do what we must to survive this pandemic and live with it, we all can enjoy Broadway once again.
Wade, your thoughts on Broadway finally being back open?
It's good. It's good for the public. It's good for the actors. It's good for everybody involved. I don't know how long this is going to last. Hopefully, they will be able to continue to be open. Same thing with the movie theaters, that they are starting to come back, and people are waiting. They've been waiting for this to be able to go out and enjoy themselves. I don't know about being required to have a vaccination. They were saying required to have a mask, required to have an N95 mask, or whatever the case may be. That may be good enough. But regardless, this is good. Everybody needs to have some type of life, some type of entertainment, some type of way to live, show that they are getting along in life, and things can be better. So I'm excited about this. Hopefully it will be able to continue through the fall and through the winter.
I think it's, I know we're going into flu season and cold and flu season and everything else, but I think everyone, I know I've been cautious about venturing into places. I've been bold enough to go into the grocery stores all while during the shutdown. And then I've been very gingerly going back to restaurants and making sure there's, air and masks and everything. And I have not gone into a retail store yet, but I will. And I haven't been in here. I haven't been in it yet, but I've been taking my time getting used to this new situation, and I've been bold and told people, have masks, we'll carry, have masks, we'll go on. And I think the fact that Broadway's back is the best signal that our economy and what we do, what we have deemed normal, is getting back to some sense of normal, even though now you have to have a scrap of cloth over your mouth, your nose and your mouth, but you can still enjoy the things that you've enjoyed. It's just a matter of another accessory. That's all. And I think that's what's important.
Well, that's it for today's show. I want to thank Andrea and Wade for coming on here and talking about some of the top news topics of the week. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
And remember to check out all the stories we talked about today. Check out our website at www.thecincinnatiherald.com. You can also check out our print edition, which is sold at your local Kroger, UDF, Walgreens, Joseph F. Booksellers, and at select service stations. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. We're on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, and TuneIn Radio. Just search for the Cincinnati Herald Podcast. Follow us at the Cincinnati Herald on Facebook. Follow us at Cincy Herald on Twitter and Instagram, and follow us on YouTube. Just search for the Herald TV. I'm John Alexander Reese, digital editor of the Cincinnati Herald, and have a good day.